Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna talking about the economic growth, which I know it's a widespread topic. You probably will hear it every day in news, audios, or videos, or all that kind of stuff. But in today, we're just gonna looking at from more from an economist view to look at all of the things like from a like looking at the general picture. So first of all, I would like to show you two graphs in here for you to better understand the economic growth. What does it mean? Well, for the general thinkings, probably most people will think, well, if a country have more monies, that means this country is experiencing economic growth. Well, not necessary. Because thinking about that, if a country suddenly have a lot of monies, that means that the price levels will definitely rise, and it will lead to inflations, and probably more serious is hyperinflation, which is like Zimbabwe's, and we don't want that situation to happen. So then, how do we measure the economic growth, the real economic growth? Then we're gonna using the real GDP, or in another way, it's the employment output. So this thing, like we want to measure the real stuff, right? Because money, they don't usually have the inter values between them, like in them. So then we want to use the real GDP, like the things that we can actually produce in our real lives to measure the economic growth. But that's sometimes not always be true. So that's the things I'm going to show you later. So first of all, I would like you to look at these two graphs. One is the common ADAS model, which you will learn in macroeconomics class or in your like introductory of economics in your college levels classes or something. Okay, so then remember, this is the AD, this is the short run AS, and this is the long run AS. If we want the economy to growth, which means that we want all of these three lines to shift out at the same time. Okay, so that means that but more importantly is that long run AS should shift out. So you can see the difference between the long run AS curve in here compared to its originally in here. Okay, and so another graph is the production possibilities frontier or production possibilities curves. So assuming that we are currently in here, this is our current situation for the economy, and we want the economy to experience a growth. So then it means that the whole curve should shift out, which moves us from this point to this point. And these two graphs are basically doing the same thing. Okay, so they're both the measurement tool for the economic growth. Okay, so after talking about the general picture of how you can use the graphs to illustrate the economic growth, let's talk about the reasons behind it. So basically, what causes the economic growth? First of all, it's the investment in physical capital. So what is the physical capital? So it's generally the things that you use to produce other stuff. Okay, and another thing is that the investment in human capital, which generally means the education. Because think about that, if you have a higher education, that definitely means that your human capital will have a lot more efficiency than before, which push the whole economy's production frontier to the right or outward. And the third reason is the technological innovation. And so, as I said before, if you have a better technology, then the things that you're gonna produce is gonna cost you way less time than the other countries and probably than before. So I mean, not probably. It's definitely because more machines, innovation, is gonna increase your efficiency and your speed. So the fourth thing is the political stability. And I would like to talk about this related to the two things after it. So the fifth one is the economic stability, and the sixth one is the economic freedom. So why are these three things interrelated? So you can see that these three things, they have to be set up by someone. But who is that person? So the normal people can't do that because they don't have that much power, and the companies cannot do that either. And so what is the person that left? Well, it's the government. So we need government regulation sometimes to our for our better economic growth. So then these three things are all stands for the institutions, and they're interrelated. Okay, and the seventh thing is the efficiency. And the efficiency basically means that can you use your resources correctly? So we talk about this in here. So resources, it's definitely very important because if you have more resources, which means you have more potential production than before, and the technology is the same thing as I explained it before, but only have the more resources is not enough. You have to use them correctly. It's like you have a very high potential than others, but you didn't use it correctly or you didn't really find it. So that's just like waste your resources. And if we want to show it on the graph, that's a debt we lost. That's a misallocation of your resources. Okay, and the last but not least, the reason is the adequate AD, or another way is the aggregate demand. And it's basically saying that you need somebody to buy or make the things that you produce, right? Or otherwise, if the demand for the goods that you produce is very low, then it will definitely not be very helpful to the whole economy grow. And it's also gonna decrease the confidence for the producers or the great expectations from the producers, and it's definitely not good. Okay, so these are all of the causes for the growth. And right now, I would like to show you some real world measurement or real world tools that we can use to find how is the economy experiencing a growth. Okay, so first of all, is the infant mortality. Okay, so why does this show us is it the economy is growing? Well, if a country have a very high expectations for the infant mortality, or like the low like expectations for the infant mortality, that determines what the health, like how is the healthcare in that country really is, or how much is the healthcare in that country really do. So remember, healthcare it's directly related to people's lives. And so if people have more lives, that means that the labor force or the human capitals will definitely have more because everyone can do more in their lives. And so this is also showing that the confidence from each families to their children's to their offsprings compared to the economy, like they will concern about their futures when they're seeing the whole economy's conditions as a big picture. Okay, so that's definitely related to our like small families. Okay, so the second thing is the life expectancy. And this is kind of like related to the first one, and this all is about healthcare. So healthcare, you can see that how important is that to our whole economy, right? And so the third one is the literacy rate, which means like how many people can read. So that's kind of related to our education things, and this related to the quality of human capital. So if the literacy is high, that means there's a lot of high educated workers in this country, and it's gonna increase the efficiency of the economy grow in some degrees. And so the fourth one is the dependency ratio. And if there's an inequality in here, that will lead to a worse like a healthcare or something. Okay, and the fifth one is the unemployment rate. So definitely, if there's a lot of like unemployment workers in here, and unemployment by definition, it just means the workers who have the ability and legitimately they can work, but they're actively seeking for a job, but currently they don't have one. But you know, like if the unemployment workers in a country is very the number is very big, that means that there's a lot of the good resources that haven't been used very successfully and very correctly, and it's really gonna like waste our human capitals. So yeah, so that's definitely very important. And the sixth one is the inflation rate. So as I talked in the beginning of this video, like think about if suddenly a country have a lot of monies been produced, that's not necessarily gonna increase the whole economy growth. I mean, most of the times it won't, because it will generally lead to the inflation or hyperinflation, and the amount of goods that's been produced didn't increase, but the price of each goods is going to increase, which means that the each currency values is going to decrease, because you right now you can only use the same amount of the monies to buy less of goods compared to before. Okay, so the seventh one is the Gini index. So what is the Gini index really measured about? It's about it's about the different incomes applying to different populations. So that means that the graph is mostly like it's like this. So almost every country cannot be like entirely this straight line or like this lines. Like if a country have this line, that means it's totally like entirely unequal. Like all of the wealth, all of the incomes are in one person's hand, and all of the others cannot survive because they don't have any monies to standard living. And if you have entirely right here, it means that everyone, no matter what type of job and what is like the full-time work or the part-time work or like the salaries, like I mean all of the salaries, no matter like the hours they work, a day, a week, a month, like a year, they're all gonna be the same. And this is also like a never exist in the real life, because like even though like from economists even though from the communism view it still didn't happen, because that's like these two are two extreme a situation that will never exist in real lives. And the most countries will be like in here, like in some like a curve, like a slightly curve, and the degrees of the curve depends on like a different countries. Okay, so this is the Gini index, and Gini index is also a kind of statistics rule to help us measure the economic growth, like how much does the economy grow. And the eighth one is the economic freedom. And this is kind of related to political, which I'm not gonna talk about a lot in this video, but I just wanted to mention that definitely a country's political orientations for like each of the like the government or something can in some degrees affected the whole economy situation. So it's kind of related to the Gini index. And so in here, like even though we don't usually see it very often, like the political and the economy kind of separate apart, but sometimes they work together, and sometimes they have a strong interrelations between each other. But again, I'm not talking about a lot in this video. And the ninth one, which is the last one but not least, is the growth rate. So growth rate, again, it's just another way to measure the economic growth. So these 9 tools from the real lives is the ways that we can measure the economic growth. And according to these 8 causes for the growth, for the whole economy to growth, and these 2 graphs I've drawn here for you to have a better understanding, a better picture for how is the economic growth overall. I think you can have a general picture for how is the economic growth, what are the reasons behind it, and there's definitely a lot more into it, like behind it. But in this video, we're just stop it right here. I think that's good enough for a lot of the like your tests and quizzes, and probably you're just interested in it, and I hope you learned something from this video. And if you like my video, please subscribe and leave some comments below. I would like to hear your thoughts, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you next time.